Today we're gonna check out the 10 oldest theme parks in the world. I think these parks are super important because they shape the way of the parks that we have now today. And who doesn't love a theme park? Number 10. Gröna, Lund in Sweden. This theme park opened its doors in 1883 and it is located in an island, which gives it a really unique look. All the buildings within this park were there before the park was built, meaning that the park had to be built around these buildings, but then these buildings were repurposed for the needs of the park. This park also hosts many festivals and concerts, reaching its peak attendance when Bob Marley performed in front of 32,000 people. Even though this park is really small, only with 9.4 acres, it has 7 roller coasters and 28 flat rides. Number 9. Idlewild and Soakson, USA. This land was originally meant for a railroad to pass by, but in 1878 it became a recreational spot when the Mellon family decided to build an establishment for picnic and pleasure. The park was family operated for almost 100 years because after the Mellon family sold it, the McDonald's family took over, and they expanded greatly from what the park originally was. The park had a carousel, a bicycle track, a swing ride, and even a wooden roller coaster named Roller Coaster. In 1983, Kennywood Entertainments would purchase the park for $1.8 million, and they expanded the offer of attractions greatly. They feature a trolley ride based on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and even a Wild Mouse roller coaster built by Vekoma. They finally added an expansion to the theme park, which was a water park, and this is why they added the word Soak Zone to the original name of the park. Kennywood Enterprises would finally decide to sell the park, but even though they got offers from Premier Parks, they thought this company would change the overall look of the park, and they finally sold it to the Spanish-based company Parques Reunidos in 2007. Number 8. Cedar Point, USA. This park is widely known and it's probably the most famous one in this list. Cedar Point started to become a tourist attraction in 1888 in a tiny peninsula in the Lake Erie. The name Cedar Point comes from the vast amount of cedar trees that were in the peninsula before the park was built. They kind of started operating as a tourist attraction in 1870, but it wasn't until later that the park was actually considered an amusement park. The first roller coaster was built in 1892, Switchback Railway. And this coaster was really peculiar because it did not have a lift hill, meaning that the operator of the ride would have to push the wagon up the hill to then drop the passengers for them to have fun. And ever since then, the park continued to add new roller coasters and new rides that would attract people from all over the world. Cedar Point received the nomination of Best Amusement Park in the World for 16 consecutive years, up to 2013. And they also achieved other milestones like being the second theme park with most rides in the whole world, just coming after Six Flags Magic Mountain. And it's clear that the success and fame of this park comes because of the constant innovation that the administration puts in the park. Even though it is an old park, it is not stuck in the past. Number 7. Gardens of Acclimatation, France. This park originally started as a zoo, and they had exotic animals that were not native to the area for them to get used to the French weather. But the story of the whole place is a little bizarre, because just after 10 years of opening and during the Paris siege, they ate and cooked all the animals within the zoo. But it doesn't stop here, because the park now decided they wanted to have humans in the park. They wanted to show the Parisian people how African people live their lives, meaning that the park basically became a human zoo. And even though this is a horrible practice, the Parisians really liked it during that time because the park saw almost 1 million visitors during the time of the exhibition. Culture developed and they understood that this was a horrible thing to do to people, so they stopped the human exhibitions and turned the zoo into an amusement park for children. Number 6. Hanayashiki, Japan. Originally conceived as a flower park, this amusement park has been in the heart of Tokyo since 1853. It is a densely packed amusement park that is surrounded by very tall buildings that give a very unique experience to be inside of. This park is a master at maximizing space because some of the rides weave through each other and some of them even go really close to the surrounding buildings. This park offers a real look at a classic Japanese amusement park and people love it. Now before we go on to the top 5, I'm gonna remind you that you should subscribe and hit the like button. Number 5 is Lake Compounce, USA. This is the oldest operating theme park in the United States, and it opened its doors in 1846. And its popularity comes because of a failed explosive experiment took place in the lake, and this attracted large groups of people that wanted to see. Towards the end of the 19th century, and with new technologies available, the park expanded its offering attractions, adding a carousel and an electric roller coaster. Number 4. Tivoli Gardens, Denmark. George Cardensen opened in 1843 the most beautiful and exotic garden that the Danish people had ever seen. And because of his constant obsession with having the park clean and the guests extremely happy, the park was a huge success among public. At its opening date, it already had a roller coaster that was only 7 seconds long, and then they added a new one almost 70 years later in 1914. The park became more and more popular as time went by, and even Walt Disney visited the Tivoli Gardens to get inspiration for his new theme park in California. Today the park remains open, and it is one of Denmark's most important attractions, with more than 25 rides and hotels and restaurants. Number 3. Blackgang Chine, United Kingdom. This park is the oldest one in the United Kingdom, and it was just a set of cliffs that overlooked the sea from more than 500 feet. But because of the Victorians wanted to find a new place to live and new places to vacation, a man named Alexander the Bell saw this as an opportunity to use this land as a leisure destination. He wanted to build gardens that would awe the Victorian people. Pathways and bridges were built along the cliffs, and also a staircase was built to grant access to the beach. And now these rough terrains look like beautiful landscaped gardens. The Isle of Wight became a huge tourist destination for the Edwardian and Victorian families, so Blackgang Chine really profited from this. They increased in size, and in 1943 they started building new and more modern attractions. Today the park features several themed lands and focuses on entertaining families and children. Number 2. Prater, Austria. In the heart of Vienna is one of the most important tourist attractions for the city. This park opened its doors during the Austrian Empire around 1766, but it wasn't until the big Ferris wheel was built in 1827 that it was considered an amusement park. This Ferris wheel survived the war, it survived bombings and fires, and it's still standing today. But only half of the gondolas that are operating are the original ones, because the rest had to be restored. All of the attractions in this park have been taken care of extremely well. This is an effort from the park to maintain its historic and charming look. Number 1 is Bakken in Denmark. Now, it was 437 years ago that this place started to attract some tourists. It wasn't meant to be a theme park, it was only a natural spring that was there. But because of the bad water conditions that Denmark was suffering during this era, a lot of people gathered around this natural spring to get water. This behavior was seen by hawkers and entertainers that saw this as an opportunity to sell their talents. And it is actually thanks to them that the park is what it is today. The park extended greatly and became an animal park during the reign of Christian V, but he closed the park to public access, meaning that people couldn't visit it, and it wasn't until the reign of Frederick V that the public was allowed back in. When it reopened, even more people came and more entertainers came, but now not only from Denmark, but now it was from all across Europe. Those who worked in the park or frequented it because of business purposes called themselves tent owners, and they created an association that then led to the creation of an electricity system, a sewage system, water availability, and many other things that increased the overall quality of the place. As of today, the park still receives more than 2.5 million visitors per year, and it's still one of Denmark's most important attractions. This place moved on from being a place where people went to get water and became an amusement park with 6 roller coasters and more than 30 other rides. Now, I would like to know if any of you have visited any of these parks. What was it like? Did it feel old? Was there anything that stood out to you because it was so old? I want to know everything, so please let me know in the comment section below what was it like. And please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See you soon!